The security camera at the gas station in Abilene shows nothing strange. A normal evening shift. Cars pull up to pumps, people walk in and out. But the worker behind the counter tells a different story. He talks about two kids who came to the glass doors just after sunset. Kids who knocked and asked to come inside. Kids whose eyes were black as night. For many years, people across America have told stories about meeting these strange figures. Young faces with dark eyes that seem to soak up light. They show up at doors, in parking lots, at bus stops. Always nice. Always asking for help. Always leaving people with a deep fear they can't explain. Texas has become a main spot for these meetings. From the oil fields of West Texas to the family neighborhoods of Dallas, from truck stops along Highway 35 to quiet streets in Austin. The stories keep coming. Each story follows a scary pattern. Each person who sees them has trouble explaining what happened. But what are these black-eyed kids? Are they tricks played by teens with fake contact lenses? Stories from the internet age? Or something much scarier? The first written story about black-eyed kids goes back to 1996. Writer Brian Bethel was sitting in his car outside a movie theater in Abilene when two boys came up to him. They knocked on his window and asked for a ride home. Something felt wrong. They talked too grown-up. They acted too calm for kids their age. Then Bethel looked into their eyes and saw only black. He wrote about it online. This started many other similar stories. People began sharing their own meetings. The stories spread across internet sites and ghost story websites. The mystery got a name. Black-eyed children. B case. More and more people told their stories. Texas places show up a lot in these stories. Maybe it's because the state is so big. Miles of empty highway where strange meetings seem more likely. Maybe it's the mix of big cities and lonely areas. Or maybe there's something about Texas that draws these mystery visitors. Sarah Martinez was closing her small store in Lubbock on a Tuesday evening in March 2018. The sun had gone down. The parking lot was empty, except for her car. She was turning off the lights when she heard tapping on the glass. Two kids stood outside, a boy and a girl, maybe 10 or 11 years old. They wore normal clothes, jeans and t-shirts, but something felt wrong. "We need to use your phone," the boy said through the glass. His voice was clear even with the glass between them. "Our mum is coming to get us, but we need to call her." Martinez stopped. Store rules said not to let anyone in after closing. But these were kids. They looked safe enough. She walked closer to get a better look. "Where are your parents?" she asked. "Our mum is at work," the girl said. "We were walking home from school and got lost. Please let us in. We just need to make one call." Something in how they talked bothered Martinez. Too nice, too practiced. Kids their age would be crying or upset about being lost. These two seemed almost calm about what was happening. "I can call someone for you," she said. "What's your mum's number?" The kids looked at each other. When they looked back at her, Martinez felt her breath stop. Their eyes were all black. Not just the middle part, the whole eye was dark. No white parts. No colored parts, just black. "Please, let us in," the boy said again. "We need to come inside." Martinez stepped back. Every feeling told her to run. She grabbed her keys and went to the back door. When she got to her car and looked back, the kids were gone. The next morning, she looked at the security videos. The cameras clearly showed her moving around the store. They showed her walking to the front door and talking to someone outside. But the area where the kids had stood looked empty. Martinez told the local police what happened. Officer James Rodriguez wrote down her story. He had heard similar stories before. Not many, but enough to know the pattern. Kids, with black eyes, asking to come inside. People left scared and confused. "She seemed really scared," Rodriguez said later. "Not like someone making up a story for attention. She felt silly even telling us. Said she felt dumb but couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong." The store meeting was not the only one. Other businesses in the Lubbock area told of similar visits. A McDonald's manager talked about two kids who came to the drive-through window on foot. A hotel worker told of young guests who wanted to book a room without adult help. In each case, people mentioned the same scary detail: eyes like pools of black ink. Dr. Emily Foster teaches psychology at Texas Tech University. She has studied the black-eyed kids mystery from a school perspective. Her research looks at mass fear and urban legends in the digital age. These meetings follow clear patterns, Foster explains. The kids always come in pairs. They're always nice but pushy. They ask for simple favors that need being let inside somewhere. And people always talk about feeling overwhelming fear. Foster believes the stories show a modern folklore change. Old stories of supernatural kids updated for today's fears. Stranger danger worry put onto mystery figures who look innocent but feel threatening. The black eyes work as a visual clue, she continues. In popular culture, black eyes often mean possession or evil. Think of horror movies where demons are shown through this exact detail. People's minds fill in the supernatural explanation. But Foster's ideas don't explain the specific location clustering. Why Texas? Why certain communities more than others? The grouping of reports suggests something beyond simple urban legend spreading. Highway 35 stretches from the Mexican border to the Oklahoma state line. It carries millions of travelers through the heart of Texas each year. Truck drivers, families on vacation, business travelers. The highway passes through major cities and small towns. It connects big areas with rural communities. Several black-eyed kids meetings have happened at truck stops along this route. Professional drivers, people used to late-night travel and unusual situations, report meetings that left them disturbed. Marcus Thompson has driven trucks for over 20 years. He's seen hitchhikers, homeless people, runaways, scam artists. None of them prepared him for what happened at a rest stop near Waco in 2019. Thompson had pulled over to take his required rest break. It was past midnight. The place was nearly empty, just a few cars in the parking area. He was settling into his sleeper cab when he heard voices outside. Two kids were walking between the parked vehicles. A boy and girl, both looking to be in their early teens. They were calling out to the trucks, asking if anyone needed help with directions. That struck me as odd right away, Thompson recalls. Kids that age shouldn't be wandering around a truck stop alone at midnight. And they weren't dressed like runaways or homeless kids. Clean clothes, neat appearance. The kids came up to Thompson's truck. They stood beside the driver's door and looked up at him through the window. "Excuse me, sir," the girl said. "We're trying to get to Dallas. Can you give us a ride?" Thompson had strict company rules about passengers. Commercial insurance didn't cover people who weren't supposed to be there. Plus, something about the situation felt wrong. These kids showed no signs of being upset. No fear about being alone at night in a strange place. "Where are your parents?" he asked. "They're in Dallas," the boy said. "We got separated at a rest stop earlier. We've been trying to find someone to help us get there." Thompson suggested they contact the police or find a place manager, someone trained to handle missing kids situations. The girl shook her head. "We just need a ride," she said firmly. "Please let us up. We won't cause any problems." As she spoke, Thompson got a clear look at her face through his side mirror. Her eyes showed no light from the parking lot lamps. They looked completely dark. The boy's eyes were the same, black from edge to edge. "I felt this sudden panic," Thompson remembers. "Like every alarm in my head was going off at once. I started the engine and got out of there fast, left them standing in the parking lot." When Thompson told his dispatcher about the incident, he learned he wasn't the first driver to call in similar meetings. The company had written down several reports over the previous months. Kids asking for rides, always in pairs, always with the same scary appearance. The Texas Department of Public Safety keeps no official numbers on black-eyed kids reports. These meetings fall into a gray area between folklore and law enforcement concern. Most people don't want to file formal reports. Those who do often frame their accounts as general suspicious activity rather than paranormal meetings. Sergeant Lisa Walker works with the Unusual Incident Division of the Harris County Sheriff's Department. Her department doesn't officially investigate supernatural claims, but they do track unusual incident patterns that might show criminal activity. We get calls about strange kids fairly regularly, Walker explains. Usually it's someone concerned about kids being out alone at wrong hours. Sometimes people mention unusual appearance details. Walker notes that many reports involve kids asking to enter homes or businesses. This pattern raises potential safety concerns. Are the meetings elaborate setups for robberies or home invasions? Are adults using kids as unwilling helpers in criminal schemes? The consistent details across reports are interesting from an investigative standpoint, Walker continues, but we've never been able to connect these sightings to any actual crimes. No break-ins, no thefts, no missing kids reports that match the descriptions. The lack of criminal follow-through puzzles, law enforcement. If these meetings represent advanced scouting for illegal activities, why don't the crimes occur? If the kids are trafficking victims being used by adult criminals, why can't authorities find them? Houston resident Patricia Williams had her black-eyed kids meeting in her own neighborhood, a quiet suburban area where kids play in yards and residents know their neighbors. The last place she expected to face something that challenged her understanding of reality. Williams was working late in her home office on a Friday evening in September 2020. Her husband was traveling for business. Her teenage daughter was at a friend's house. The neighborhood was settling into its usual nighttime quiet. Around 10 o'clock, Williams heard her doorbell ring. She wasn't expecting visitors. Delivery packages would have arrived earlier in the day. She looked through the front window and saw two kids standing on her porch. They looked like siblings, a boy and girl, maybe 12 and 10 years old. Both had light brown hair and pale skin. They wore school clothes, despite the late hour. The boy carried a backpack. Williams opened the door but kept the security chain on. A narrow gap let her speak with the kids while keeping a barrier. "Can we come in?" the girl asked right away. "We need to use your bathroom and maybe get some water." "Where do you live?" Williams asked back. "Are your parents looking for you?" "We live nearby," the boy said. "Our house is just a few streets over. We were walking home and got confused in the dark." Williams knew the neighborhood well. She had lived there for 8 years. She could name most of the families with kids. These two didn't look familiar. Their story also seemed questionable. The streets were well lit and clearly marked. Getting lost within a few blocks would be hard. "I can call your parents," she offered. "What's your last name?" The kids looked at each other. When they looked back at Williams, she noticed something wrong with their eyes. The porch light should have been bright enough to see clearly, but their eyes looked completely dark. "Please let us come inside," the girl said again. "We're really thirsty." Williams felt an overwhelming urge to step away from the door. Some basic instinct was screaming warnings. She told the kids to wait while she got them bottled water from the kitchen. When she returned less than a minute later, they were gone. No footsteps on the wooden porch. No sounds of kids running away. They had simply disappeared. Williams checked with neighbors the next morning. No one reported missing kids. No one recognized her description of the visitors. The subdivision's security cameras showed nothing unusual for that time period. "I keep replaying it in my mind," Williams says. "I've lived here almost a decade. I know every family with kids. These kids didn't belong in our neighborhood. And those eyes, I've never seen anything like it." The suburban meeting pattern appears frequently in Texas reports. Middle-class neighborhoods where residents feel safe. Kids who claim to live nearby but can't be traced to any local family. People left questioning their own perceptions. Dr. Michael Hernandez practices pediatric medicine in San Antonio. He has examined kids with various eye conditions throughout his career. When asked about completely black eyes, he explains the medical possibilities. Aniridia is a condition where kids are born without an iris. Dr. Hernandez says their pupils can appear very large and dark, but the whites of the eyes remain visible. Total eye blackness would require additional conditions affecting multiple parts of the eye structure. Hernandez notes that such extensive eye problems would likely cause significant vision problems. Kids with these conditions would need medical supervision and special help. They wouldn't typically be wandering neighborhoods alone at night. The descriptions in these meeting reports don't match any medical condition I'm familiar with, Hernandez continues. Multiple eye structures would need to be affected at the same time. The kids would probably have additional health problems that would be right away obvious. Contact lenses represent another possible explanation. Theater lenses designed to completely cover the eye are available for costume purposes. But these lenses are uncomfortable for long wear. They're hard for kids to put in properly without adult help. The medical explanations don't account for the behavioral consistency across reports, the polite but pushy requests, the claims of needing simple help, the sudden disappearances when help is offered indirectly. Austin artist Rebecca Nash met black-eyed kids outside a downtown coffee shop in 2021. She was leaving an evening art class when two kids came up to her in the parking lot. Their request was different from typical accounts, but their appearance matched previous descriptions exactly. They wanted me to give them money for the bus, Nash recalls. Said they needed to get home but didn't have correct change. Normal enough request, except it was almost 11 at night, and they looked maybe 8 or 9 years old. Nash offered to call the kids' parents instead of giving them cash. She suggested contacting police who could help them get home safely. The kids refused both alternatives. Just the bus money, the boy insisted. That's all we need. When Nash looked closely at their faces, she noticed their eyes looked completely black under the parking lot lights. No reflection, no visible pupils or irises, just dark voids where eyes should be. I felt this overwhelming dread, she remembers, like I was in immediate danger but couldn't understand why. These were little kids asking for a few dollars, nothing threatening about that, but every instinct told me to run. Nash walked quickly to her car and left. When she mentioned the meeting to classmates the following week, 2 others shared similar experiences. Kids with dark eyes asking for small favors. Adults left feeling strangely frightened. The urban meetings often involve kids asking for money or transportation help, simple requests that don't require entering buildings. This pattern differs from rural or residential reports, where kids typically want to come inside. Some researchers suggest the variation shows different types of entities, or different motivations behind the meetings. Urban kids seeking immediate needs versus residential kids wanting access to private spaces. Father Miguel Santos serves as a priest at St. Joseph's Catholic Church in El Paso. His perspective on the black-eyed kids mystery comes from both pastoral experience and theological study. Church members have approached him with accounts of disturbing meetings involving mysterious kids. People are genuinely frightened by these experiences, Father Santos explains. They come seeking spiritual guidance and reassurance. Some ask about protection prayers or blessed objects. Santos notes that meeting descriptions often include elements that connect with religious concepts of evil or supernatural interference. The black eyes, the polite persistence, the sense of dread that people cannot rationally explain. In Catholic teaching, evil often disguises itself as innocent or needy, Santos continues. The idea of evil forces appearing as kids who request help fits traditional patterns of spiritual deception. But Santos also acknowledges the possibility of natural explanations, psychological projection, mass hysteria, wrong interpretation of ordinary events influenced by cultural fears and internet folklore. Faith and reason should work together, he says. We must remain open to spiritual realities while also examining claims through logical analysis. The religious community's response varies widely. Some congregations treat the reports as evidence of supernatural activity requiring spiritual protection. Others view them as modern urban legends that distract from genuine religious concerns. Highway 10 crosses the entire width of Texas, from Louisiana to New Mexico. The highway passes through Houston, San Antonio, and El Paso. It connects major population centers with smaller communities scattered across hundreds of miles. Truck driver Amanda Foster was hauling freight along this route when she met black-eyed kids at a service plaza near Kerrville. Her experience differed from other trucker accounts in several important details. Foster had stopped for fuel and a meal break. It was early evening, still light outside. The service plaza was busy with regular travelers, families, tourists, other commercial drivers. Two kids came up to Foster while she was fueling her truck. They looked to be maybe 10 and 12 years old. Boy and girl, both blonde, wearing casual summer clothes. "Excuse me, Mom," the older child said. "Our dad went inside to buy something and left his keys in the car. We're locked out and getting hot. Can we wait in your truck, where it's cool?" Foster looked around the parking area. She could see several cars and SUVs, but no adult standing nearby who might be watching these kids. The request seemed reasonable given the Texas heat. "Where's your dad's car?" she asked. The kids pointed toward a blue sedan parked near the building entrance. Foster couldn't see anyone approaching or leaving the vehicle. "How about we go find your dad instead?" she suggested. "He's probably worried about you. He said to wait by the car," the girl replied. "But it's really hot. Please just let us sit in your truck for a few minutes." Foster looked more closely at the kids' faces. Their eyes looked completely dark. No visible whites or colored irises, just black from edge to edge. "I felt like I was looking into empty holes," Foster remembers. No light reflected back, no human expression, just darkness. Foster made an excuse about needing to check her logbook inside the truck cab. She climbed into the driver's seat and locked the doors. When she looked back, the kids were walking away toward the building. Foster went inside the service plaza to report the incident to management. She described two kids who claimed to be locked out of their father's car. When security checked the blue sedan, they found it unlocked and empty. No one matching the kids' description was located inside the building. The daylight meeting challenged several assumptions about black-eyed kids' reports. Most incidents occur during evening or nighttime hours. This happened in broad daylight at a busy public location. Foster's description of the kids' eyes remained consistent with other accounts despite the different lighting conditions. The darkness appeared absolute rather than simply dilated pupils or shadowed eye sockets. The Kerrville Service Plaza incident also involved witnesses beyond just the primary meeting victim. Other travelers and facility staff were present. Security cameras covered the parking area and building entrances. Yet follow-up investigation revealed the same pattern found in other cases. No trace of the mysterious kids, no adults matching their claimed parent. No clear documentation of their presence despite multiple potential witnesses and recording systems. Local police officer Jennifer Martinez reviewed the Service Plaza security footage. She found video of Foster speaking with someone near her truck, but the angle and image quality made it hard to clearly identify who she was addressing. "The footage shows her having a conversation," Officer Martinez explains, "but it's not definitive about what she was talking to. Could be kids, could be adults crouched down, could be something else entirely." The video evidence represents another recurring element in black-eyed kids' cases. People report clear interactions with mysterious figures, but recorded proof remains unclear or absent entirely. Technology fails to capture what human perception interprets as obvious supernatural meetings. This pattern strengthens both believer and skeptic arguments, depending on interpretation. San Antonio resident Robert Taylor experienced his black-eyed kids meeting while taking his dog for a late-night walk. The incident occurred in his familiar neighborhood, but left him questioning basic assumptions about reality. Taylor routinely walked his German Shepherd along the same route every evening. Quiet residential streets, lined with modest houses and small front yards. Safe area where kids played outside and neighbors knew each other by sight. On this particular evening in November 2019, Taylor was returning home around 10:30 when his dog began acting aggressively. The normally calm animal started barking and pulling toward a house across the street. Two kids were standing in the shadows beside the house, a boy and girl who looked to be middle school age. They weren't moving or making noise, just standing perfectly still in the darkness. "Is everything okay?" Taylor called out. He assumed they might be lost or in some kind of trouble. The kids stepped into the light from a nearby street lamp. They looked clean and well-dressed, not like kids who had been playing outside or walking long distances. "We need to get inside somewhere warm," the girl said. "Can we come to your house for a little while?" Taylor's dog was still barking and straining against the leash. The animal seemed genuinely frightened. This was unusual behavior for such a confident breed. "Do you live around here?" Taylor asked. "I can help you find your parents. We just need to come inside somewhere," the boy repeated, "just for a few minutes." As the kids spoke, Taylor noticed their eyes looked completely black under the streetlight, not shadowed or hard to see, completely dark from edge to edge. "I had this overwhelming sense that I needed to get away from them immediately," Taylor recalls. "My dog was going crazy, backing away and trying to pull me home. Every instinct said danger." Taylor told the kids he would call police to help them find their families. He turned and walked quickly toward his house, the dog eagerly leading the way. When Taylor looked back from his front door, the kids had disappeared. He searched the street in both directions but saw no sign of them, no footsteps. No sounds of running or walking away. The residential meeting pattern often involves kids claiming to need shelter or warmth. They appear in neighborhoods where their presence should be easily explained, but can't be traced to any local family. Animals frequently react with fear or aggression during these meetings. Dogs bark, cats hide, horses become agitated. The animal responses suggest these kids trigger instinctive danger recognition, even when human witnesses feel confused rather than immediately threatened. Dr. Rachel Pierce studies animal behavior at the University of Houston. Her research includes how domestic animals respond to human strangers and unusual situations. Dogs are excellent at reading human body language and vocal cues. Dr. Pierce explains, they can detect threats that people might miss consciously. Aggressive reactions to kids would be unusual unless something was genuinely wrong. Pierce notes that animals respond to subtle signals humans often overlook: pheromones, electromagnetic fields, infrasound vibrations. These factors could explain why pets react fearfully to black-eyed kids when their owners feel only vague unease. If these meetings involve people wearing contact lenses or costumes, the animals might be responding to artificial sense or unusual movement patterns. Pierce continues, fake elements that look normal to humans but smell or sound wrong to animal senses. But Pierce acknowledges that animal behavior during alleged supernatural meetings remains hard to study scientifically. Most incidents involve single pets and single witnesses. Laboratory conditions can't replicate the specific circumstances of neighborhood meetings. The consistent pattern of animal fear across multiple independent reports suggests something measurable is triggering these responses. Whether that something is supernatural or simply human deception remains unclear. Dallas resident Maria Gonzalez faced black-eyed kids at her own front door on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Her meeting differed from typical evening reports in both timing and persistence. Gonzalez was preparing Sunday dinner for her family when the doorbell rang around 3 o'clock. She expected it might be neighbors or friends stopping by for informal visits. 2 kids stood on her front porch, brother and sister, maybe 9 and 11 years old. They wore nice clothes, as if dressed for church or a special occasion. "We're raising money for our school," the girl explained. "Can we come in and tell you about our fundraiser?" Gonzalez found the request odd. School fundraisers typically involved selling specific items or asking for donations at the door. Kids didn't usually need to enter homes to explain their programs. "What kind of fundraiser?" she asked through the screen door. "We're collecting for new playground equipment," the boy replied. "We have a presentation to show people. It will only take a few minutes." Gonzalez noticed the kids carried no brochures, order forms, or collection materials. No adult supervision was visible anywhere in the neighborhood. "I'm busy preparing dinner," she explained. "Can you leave some information and come back later?" "We really need to come inside now," the girl insisted. "Our presentation explains everything." As they spoke, Gonzalez got a clear view of their faces through the screen door. Their eyes looked completely black. No pupils, irises, or whites visible. Just dark voids where eyes should be. "I felt this immediate panic," Gonzalez remembers. "Like I was looking at something that wasn't quite human. The faces were normal kids' faces, but the eyes were completely wrong." Gonzalez told the kids she wasn't interested and closed the door. She watched through the window as they walked away without visiting any other houses on the street. The afternoon timing challenged typical patterns for black-eyed kids meetings. Most reports involve evening or nighttime meetings. This incident occurred during normal social hours when door-to-door visits might be expected. The fundraising pretext also differed from usual requests. Instead of claiming immediate needs like shelter or transportation, these kids wanted to enter the home for a structured presentation. Yet the core elements remained consistent: polite but pushy kids asking to come inside, complete eye blackness, witness reports of instinctive fear despite non-threatening behavior. Texas Child Protective Services maintains records of missing kids reports throughout the state. Caseworker David Miller has reviewed files dating back several years, looking for patterns that might connect to black-eyed kids meetings. "We get reports of kids who don't match any missing persons cases," Miller explains. "Kids who appear in neighborhoods or public places but can't be identified through our systems." Miller notes that legitimate lost or runaway kids typically show signs of distress. They cry, act frightened, or display other emotional responses appropriate to their situation. "The kids described in these reports sound unusually composed," Miller continues. "Too calm for kids who are genuinely lost or in trouble. That inconsistency raises questions about what's really happening." Child Protection Services also track unusual patterns that might show trafficking or exploitation, adults using kids for criminal purposes, organized groups moving minors across state lines. But black-eyed kids meetings don't fit typical trafficking indicators. The kids appear briefly and disappear without being recovered. No adults are identified as controlling or transporting them. From a child welfare perspective, these reports are puzzling, Miller admits. If real kids are involved, where do they come from, and where do they go? If they're not real kids, what are people actually meeting? The cases fall into a gap between paranormal investigation and legitimate child protection concerns. Authorities must take reports seriously enough to investigate potential crimes while acknowledging that most meetings produce no actionable evidence. Paranormal investigator Jonathan Wright has researched black-eyed kids meetings for over a decade. His files contain hundreds of reports from across the United States. Texas represents one of the highest concentration areas. Wright attempts to investigate each report using standard research methods: interview witnesses, check public records, review security footage when available. His goal is separating legitimate unexplained events from wrong identification and hoaxes. Texas cases show remarkable consistency, Wright explains: geographic distribution, witness demographics, meeting details. The patterns suggest something real is happening, even if we can't explain what. Wright notes that Texas reports span urban and rural areas, different economic communities, various age groups among witnesses. This distribution argues against simple hoax coordination or mass hysteria within specific populations. If these were copycat incidents inspired by internet stories, we'd expect to see clustering around certain types of people or places, Wright continues. Instead, the meetings appear randomly distributed across very different communities. Wright's investigation methods include background checks on witnesses, analysis of claimed locations, consultation with medical and psychological experts. Most witnesses pass credibility screening without obvious signs of deception or mental instability. The physical evidence remains frustratingly absent. No clear photographs, no forensic traces, no reliable video documentation. Wright acknowledges this limitation, while arguing that absence of proof doesn't equal proof of absence. Science can't currently explain these meetings, Wright concludes. That doesn't mean they're not happening. It means our understanding of reality might be incomplete. East Texas resident Dorothy Hayes met black-eyed kids while working as a night security guard at a small industrial complex. Her professional experience with unusual situations and potential threats shaped her response to the meeting. Hayes was conducting her routine patrol around midnight when she noticed two kids near the facility's main entrance. They appeared to be waiting beside the security gate, despite the late hour and industrial location. As a security professional, Hayes approached the situation with trained caution. Kids shouldn't be unattended at industrial sites during overnight hours. The circumstances suggested potential family emergency or criminal activity. I radioed for backup before approaching them, Hayes recalls. Kids that age being out alone in an industrial area at midnight meant something was seriously wrong. The kids appeared calm despite their unusual location. A boy and girl, maybe 12 and 10 years old. They wore casual clothes and showed no signs of distress or fear. "We're looking for our uncle," the girl explained. "He works here and was supposed to pick us up, but he never showed." Hayes checked her roster of facility employees. No one was scheduled for overnight work that evening. The building was completely empty except for her security presence. "What's your uncle's name?" she asked. The kids looked at each other before the boy replied, with a common surname that could match several people. "I can call the office tomorrow to get his contact information," Hayes offered. "Meanwhile, I need to contact police about you being here alone." "We just need to wait inside where it's safe," the girl said. "Can you let us into the building?" Hayes looked closely at the kids' faces under the security lighting. Their eyes looked completely black with no visible pupils, irises, or whites. "I've worked security for 15 years, Hayes explains. "I know how eyes look under artificial lighting. These weren't normal eyes. They were completely dark, like looking into empty holes." Hayes maintained her position outside while radioing for police backup. When she looked toward the kids again, they had disappeared from beside the security gate. The backup officers arrived within 10 minutes and conducted a thorough search of the property perimeter. No kids were found anywhere on the grounds. No footprints or other physical evidence of their presence. The industrial setting represented an unusual location for black-eyed kids meetings. Most reports occur in residential neighborhoods, retail areas, or along highways. Few involve secured facilities with professional security personnel. Hayes's training provided structure for handling the meeting that most civilian witnesses lack. Her systematic approach to documentation and evidence preservation offers insights into the mystery's investigative challenges. Fort Worth police detective Sarah Robinson has met black-eyed kids reports during her career in law enforcement. Her investigations focus on determining whether criminal activity might be involved in these mysterious meetings. "We treat every report seriously from a public safety standpoint," Detective Robinson explains. "Kids approaching strangers, especially at night, raises immediate concerns about trafficking, exploitation, or family emergency situations." Robinson notes that legitimate missing kids cases produce clear evidence trails, family reports, school absences, social services involvement, medical records. Black-eyed kids meetings consistently lack these supporting elements. "We can never identify these kids through normal channels," Robinson continues. "No missing persons reports match their descriptions. No local families are looking for kids fitting their appearance." The detective has reviewed security camera footage from multiple meeting locations. The recordings often show witnesses clearly reacting to something, but the kids themselves appear unclear or absent from the video evidence. "Technology should capture what people are seeing," Robinson explains. "When witnesses describe detailed interactions but cameras show nothing definitive, we have to question what's actually happening. Robinson acknowledges the investigation challenges these cases present. No clear crimes are committed, no victims require protection, no suspects can be identified or apprehended. From a law enforcement perspective, we document the reports and look for patterns that might show criminal activity, she concludes, but most of these meetings don't fit standard crime categories. The academic community remains divided about black-eyed kids events. Researchers approach the reports from multiple perspectives: psychology, sociology, folklore studies, and unusual events investigation. Dr. Jennifer Adams teaches anthropology at Rice University in Houston. Her research includes modern folklore development and urban legend transmission in digital communities. These reports follow classic folklore patterns adapted for contemporary culture. Dr. Adams explains, mysterious strangers requesting entry, supernatural appearance details, moral lessons about trusting unknown individuals. Adams notes that internet communication allows folklore to spread and evolve much faster than traditional oral transmission methods. Stories can reach global audiences within hours and accumulate variations from multiple sources. The consistency across reports might reflect shared cultural knowledge rather than shared experiences. Adams continues, people unconsciously incorporate familiar story elements when describing unusual meetings. But Adams acknowledges that some aspects of the mystery don't fit standard folklore models. The geographic concentration, witness credibility, and consistent behavioral details suggest something beyond simple story repetition. Academic research requires remaining open to multiple explanations, Adams concludes. Whether these meetings represent folklore, psychology, or genuinely unexplained events remains an open question. The black-eyed kids mystery continues expanding across Texas communities. New reports surface regularly through internet forums, local news coverage, and personal testimonies. Each account adds details while raising additional questions about what people are actually experiencing. Skeptics point to the lack of physical evidence, the influence of internet folklore, the psychological factors that might create false perceptions of supernatural meetings. They argue that the mystery represents mass suggestion amplified by digital communication. Believers emphasize the consistency across independent reports, the credibility of many witnesses, the specific details that seem too complex for simple hoax coordination. They suggest that science hasn't yet developed tools to properly investigate these meetings. The truth likely lies somewhere between complete dismissal and total acceptance. Something is happening in Texas that leaves witnesses genuinely disturbed by their experiences. Whether that something involves supernatural entities, elaborate human deception, or unknown psychological events remains unclear. What seems certain is that reports will continue. People will keep meeting mysterious kids with dark eyes who ask polite questions and disappear without explanation. The mystery has become part of modern Texas folklore, whether its origins prove natural or otherwise. For now, the black-eyed kids remain an unsolved mystery wandering the roads and neighborhoods of the Lone Star State. They appear when least expected. They make simple requests that feel deeply wrong. They vanish before anyone can determine what they truly represent. The meetings leave witnesses changed, not physically harmed but psychologically affected by experiences that challenge basic assumptions about reality. They join a growing community of people who have looked into completely black eyes and felt fear they cannot rationally explain. Perhaps that fear itself holds the key to understanding. Maybe the black-eyed kids serve as mirrors reflecting our deepest anxieties about trust, vulnerability, and the unknown. Or maybe they represent something far more literal and disturbing. The meetings show no signs of decreasing. If anything, reports have intensified in recent years as more people share their experiences online. Social media platforms, paranormal websites, and local news outlets regularly feature new accounts from Texas witnesses. Each story follows the familiar pattern while adding unique details. Kids who speak in formal language unusual for their apparent age, requests for help that feel more like demands despite polite phrasing, eyes that absorb light rather than reflecting it. The mystery has spawned support groups for witnesses struggling to process their experiences, online forums where people share coping strategies and validation for meetings that mainstream society often dismisses or ridicules. Dr. Susan Martinez runs a support group for unusual experience witnesses in Austin. Her clients include people who report UFO sightings, cryptid meetings, and black-eyed kids meetings. These experiences affect people profoundly, Dr. Martinez explains. Even when nothing physically harmful occurs, witnesses often develop anxiety, sleep problems, and difficulty trusting their own perceptions. Martinez notes that black-eyed kids witnesses frequently report feeling guilty about their fear of apparent kids. Social conditioning makes adults want to help young people in need. This creates internal conflict when instincts scream danger. The meetings violate basic social expectations. Martinez continues, adults are supposed to protect kids, but these witnesses feel threatened by them. That contradiction creates lasting psychological stress. The support groups provide safe spaces for processing experiences that don't fit conventional reality frameworks. Members validate each other's accounts while exploring coping mechanisms for ongoing anxiety and confusion. Some witnesses report being contacted by the same or similar kids multiple times. Follow-up meetings that suggest the initial meeting wasn't random or coincidental. Rachel Torres met black-eyed kids 3 times over a 2-year period. Each meeting occurred in different locations around San Antonio, but she recognized the same 2 kids from her first meeting. They remembered me, Torres recalls. The second time, they asked why I hadn't helped them before, like they were keeping track of our previous interaction. Torres's repeat meetings involved increasingly specific personal details. The kids mentioned her work schedule, her daughter's school activities, her husband's recent job change, information they shouldn't have possessed from casual observation. They knew things about my life that I'd never discussed in public, Torres explains. Private family matters that weren't posted online or shared with acquaintances. It felt like they'd been watching me for months. The repeat meeting pattern appears in other Texas cases. Witnesses who initially dismissed their experiences as one-time oddities find themselves facing the same mysterious kids weeks or months later. These follow-up meetings often involve more detailed personal knowledge, increased pressure to comply with the kids' requests, as if the entities are learning about their targets and refining their approach. Amateur investigators have attempted to photograph or video record black-eyed kids during meetings. Modern smartphones should easily capture clear images of kids standing under streetlights or porch illumination. Yet the photographic evidence remains consistently poor quality or unclear. Blurry figures that could be anything. Dark shapes that might be kids or shadows or image artifacts. Nothing definitive enough to prove or disprove the witnesses' claims. Technology blogger Kevin Chang analyzed dozens of alleged black-eyed kids photographs submitted by Texas witnesses. His forensic examination revealed consistent problems across all submissions. The images show signs of motion blur, focus problems, or lighting issues that make identification impossible, Chang explains. Some appear deliberately obscured, but others seem to represent genuine technical failures. Chang notes that modern smartphone cameras perform well in low-light conditions. They should capture clear images of stationary subjects. The consistent poor quality across multiple independent submissions puzzles him. Either witnesses are unconsciously sabotaging their own documentation attempts, or something about these meetings interferes with normal camera function, Chang continues. Both possibilities raise interesting questions about the mystery. The photographic evidence failures mirror broader documentation problems throughout black-eyed kids' research. Physical proof remains elusive, despite hundreds of reported meetings and multiple investigation attempts. Texas folklorist Dr. Robert Sterling has traced black-eyed kids' stories Through regional oral tradition networks, his research examines how modern accounts relate to historical supernatural meetings recorded in local communities. Similar stories appear in Texas folklore dating back over a century. Dr. Sterling explains. Kids with unusual eyes requesting entry to homes. Travelers meeting strange young people on remote roads. Sterling found historical accounts from German immigrant communities in central Texas. These described meetings with dark-eyed kids who appeared at farmhouses during harsh winters. The kids claimed to need shelter but disappeared when adults went to gather blankets or food. Mexican-American folklore from South Texas includes stories of niños de ojos negros who appeared to travelers crossing between settlements. These kids allegedly led people astray or caused them to become lost in familiar territory. The core elements remain consistent across different time periods and cultural groups, Sterling continues. Kids with dark eyes making polite requests but triggering instinctive fear responses. Sterling's research suggests the black-eyed kids mystery may represent a persistent regional mystery rather than a recent internet-age invention. The meetings may have cultural roots extending far deeper than most researchers realized. Medical professional Dr. Lisa Rodriguez has examined several Texas witnesses who requested health evaluations following their black-eyed kids meetings. Her patients reported various physical and psychological symptoms they attributed to their mysterious meetings. Some patients describe lingering feelings of dread or anxiety weeks after their meetings. Dr. Rodriguez explains. Sleep disturbances, hypervigilance, difficulty concentrating on normal activities. Rodriguez notes that these symptoms resemble mild post-traumatic stress responses, as if the witnesses experienced genuinely threatening situations despite no apparent physical danger during their meetings. The symptoms are real, even if the meeting's supernatural elements remain questionable, Rodriguez continues. Something about these experiences affects people at a deep psychological level. Some patients reported unusual physical sensations during their meetings, sudden temperature drops, electromagnetic interference with electronic devices, unusual smells or tastes in the air. These physiological responses suggest the meetings might involve measurable environmental changes beyond simple visual hallucinations or wrong identifications. But documenting such changes requires scientific equipment during unpredictable, spontaneous events. The investigation challenges continue frustrating researchers from multiple disciplines. The meetings occur randomly without advance warning. Physical evidence remains absent or unclear. Witness testimony, while consistent, cannot be independently verified. Yet the reports persist. New meetings happen regularly across Texas communities. Each witness adds their voice to a growing chorus, describing experiences that seem to exist at the intersection of folklore, psychology, and unexplained events. The black-eyed kids mystery represents something unique in contemporary unusual research, a mystery that generates consistent reports while defying systematic documentation, meetings that feel intensely real to witnesses while leaving no trace for outside verification. Whether the kids represent interdimensional visitors, psychological projections, elaborate hoaxes, or something else entirely remains an open question. The answer may emerge through continued research, improved documentation methods, or eventual direct contact under controlled conditions. For now, they remain Texas mysteries. Kids with impossible eyes who appear without warning. They make simple requests that feel deeply wrong. They disappear back into the night. They carry secrets that may never be fully understood. This leaves witnesses to wonder what they truly met in those brief, terrifying moments. The meetings continue. Reports arrive regularly from new witnesses across the Lone Star State. Each account adds details while deepening the mystery surrounding these enigmatic visitors who seem to exist just beyond the boundaries of normal reality. And somewhere in Texas tonight, two kids with completely black eyes are probably approaching another unsuspecting person. They will ask politely for help. They will trigger inexplicable fear. They will vanish without explanation. The cycle continues, leaving another witness to join the growing community of people who have looked into darkness itself and felt their world shift in ways they cannot fully comprehend. Have you ever met kids whose eyes reflected no light? Have you felt that inexplicable dread when faced with apparent innocence? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more investigations into the mysteries that walk among us.